matter transfer sciences, owned by Ahmed Akbar, will attempt to complete the first matter transfer machine.
Someone's using a secure line to communicate with the outside. I'm gonna find out who.
Oh my gosh.
That's for Shadamir.
Away from the computer! Step away! In my wildest expectations, I would have never figured that you would create time travel. My mind is racing with the possibilities.
Transferring matter was bad enough. Put time travel in your hands.
If RAM created matter transfer, they can go anywhere GPS coordinates can take them. Are you okay?
We have a problem. I agreed to build the time machine.
They already did it. They sent Brent a team somewhere already.
We can't kill him. Jesus is a prophet. We should honor him. Yes, we will be correcting the greatest deception of all time.
I get it. It's the ultimate jihad. Eliminate Christianity by killing Jesus before the resurrection. Muhammad just killed off every Christian that ever existed.
He will be remembered as a great prophet, but not as the Son of God.
Great.
That was one of the best ones we've ever done.
Very good. Very well coordinated.
That was, it's getting better every time. We're so fucking good, boys. We're so fucking good. Every other podcast fucking sucks dick and fucking sticking up their audacity. You all fucking suck dick. Stop fucking podcasting. We're the fucking best. You're dog shit at this fucking game. Fuck you. Dog shit player. Fuck you.
All right, let's kick this one off. Okay, hello everybody. It's Chapo here. It's me, Matt, and Felix on this one. And we got a fairly juicy Christian film for you we're going to break down and analyze for you. That spoiler alert. Out of I feel like dozens of these that we've watched, The Reliance, the Fireman Prophecy, all the Dinesh D'Souza movies, the one where Ben Franklin hangs out with Paula
yeah, the one we did with Bill Corbett.
Yeah. Okay. Out of all of these, this is the first one we've seen that like approaches like a real movie and like actually was like kind of nice with it.
This movie was ambitious. It had production values. It is a new genre. This is a new genre, right? Christian hard sci-fi. This is a totally new thing. It's never existed before.
And it's like, honestly, like you would think that those two genres would be incompatible with each other, hard science fiction and like a sort of evangelical Christian movie. But actually it works surprisingly well. And like this is not a movie where you can go through and poke holes in like all the idiotic screenwriting or plot. Like this was actually like a snare drum. This was tight.
Yeah. But we do want to make clear this is still an evangelical movie, so it was incredibly racist.
Well, it was not free of goofiness or corniness. But as far as these movies goes, it definitely there's definitely the most interesting plot that like had me get like sort of engaged with it. Like, we'll get there. Let's talk about, for the movie today, we're talking about some historical events, or one historical event in particular. The film we have selected today to watch and discuss and analyze for you is a film that came out this year. It's a very new one. It's called Assassin 33 AD. And this film asks the question, what would happen if a terrorist group invented time travel and then used it to go back in time and kill Jesus Christ? Which I gotta say, it does way more interesting stuff with the time travel concept, which is something that's been beaten to death in movies thus far, than almost any other film that's like dabbled in time travel. I mean, I put this up there with, La Jetée, Time Cop, Hot Tub Time Machine, the Terminator films, the real classics of the genre. This is a fairly worthy entry. I won't put it on the level of, Terminator, but certainly Chris Marker's La Jetée.
It definitely puts more thought into the time travel element of itself and like does stuff with that than say Looper.
Yeah.
No,
this
yeah.
is way
This
better
is-
than Looper.
Christian Looper kicks the shit out of regular Looper.
Absolutely.
Like this is a ambitious. It's like H.G. Wells would fall to his knees at the sight of Jim Carroll, the author of this incredible screenplay, who truly thought this out. He truly thought this out. I don't know what type of church this movie's affiliated with. I assume one of those evangelical churches that's called like refoundationings, where they have like you know, sober raves and like, you know, laser tag and youth ministry. But keep it up, guys. This fucking rocks.
I mean,
like,
honestly,
maybe cool with the racism, but this shit fucking rocks.
We will describe for you what happens in this movie, but like, I will preface it by way of saying that, like, were this same concept like executed by someone who wasn't a true believer, what you would get is like a very close and faithful rendition of like a Philip K. Dick story. This movie, like, if the same concept had been like slightly tweaked, it could have gone some really interesting places that would be like really actually like up there in like kind of a sci-fi pantheon. Like I said, like this would be very at home in like the Philip K. Dick canon. So,
yeah.
And I gotta say, as far as like all of these Christian movies, or really most of the movies we've watched on this show, unlike especially the Christian movies, this has a professionalism to it. Like this looks like something you would see on like a cable TV channel, like a TV show or like a low budget movie. Like crucially, Matt, as you said, the entire movie doesn't look like it was filmed in like someone's backyard of a subdivision, like the Reliant, where like most of that movie was just filmed in like the woods behind some guy's McMansion. And like, you know, the performances were like credible enough, you know, like it just,
it worked.
It did not, it wasn't like howlingly glaringly unprofessional and like poorly done or like just flat, you know, like all these Christian movies is just like I just watch them and like there's just no propulsion to the plot. Nothing seems to happen. We forget who the characters are. Like people just show up and go away without any reason. Whereas this one, you know, it had a pretty propulsive, you know, tight, like I said, tightly plotted, fairly well executed film.
Do you know why that is?
It's sort of interesting.
Do you know why the evangelical movies we usually watch are so flat and bad? It's because the theology of American Protestantism itself is so flat. The entire belief system is we figured out everything. Mm-hmm. There's no mystery in the universe, which, you know, that's why so many great movies come from religious traditions that are the opposite of that. The idea that God is mystery, that we live in pain. There are so many great... Like
the Coen brothers.
Yeah, the Coen brothers, or like sort of Catholic tinged movies.
Abel Ferrara.
Yeah, Ferrara, Scorsese,
Paulo Sorrentino.
But why does this movie not have that? It's because they've added an element of the unknown into their theology, which is, what if evangelicals and Muslims had access to time machines?
That does throw a wrench into things.
Yeah.
You're not just listening to some guy like noodle on the guitar in a converted Best Buy. Like that makes you have to think for at least a minute.
Yeah. All these other movies, like it's bad things happening to people and then them going like, I'm going to be okay because I believe in God, and he kind of fixes it.
Well, that's the thing. There's no action. You just have to forgive.
Yeah.
So there's no actual thing to do in these movies. Here, you got to save Jesus.
What I appreciated about what Jim Carroll, no relation to the Jim Carroll band, unfortunately, what I appreciated about what he did with this movie is that by adding the element of time travel, it creates a kind of like an actual attention to live out and sort of like dramatize like a lot of like interesting like theological and like intellectual questions that do sort of have to do with Christianity about like, you know, so let's just get into it.
Yes.
So Matt, unfortunately, he was doing mud pies. He was shitting out his doo-doo ass. No, Matt joined the movie late. So Felix and I will relate to you like the very beginning of the movie. So it begins, and it's a man and his family driving in a car. The wife is played by former reality TV star Heidi Montag, who you may remember
friend of Yeah But Still podcast.
Oh yeah. You may remember from The Hills, right? She was on that.
Yes.
Staring at the blank page before me.
Do not get your hopes up, though. She is not in this movie for very long. So
because these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah. Because like I said, like as soon as it started and I saw her and like read a couple lines, I was like, oh brother, here we go again, another unbelievably bad, like just poorly done on every level, just like shit show. Thankfully, she is dispensed with very early because it is a family, and the husband is like driving to his new job or whatever. He's got his wife in the front seat, his 2 daughters in the back seat, and he's just like, honey, I think this is what God wants from me. And his wife sort of just becomes overcome in the moment. And Heidi Montag looks at him and says, she tears up and she's like, honey, I just have the feeling that God is going to do something miraculous for you. And he's like, really?
Through you.
And through you. God is going to do something miraculous through you. And he's like, really, baby? And he doesn't have much time to think about that because the car is T-boned by a truck.
Okay.
I'm having this feeling that God is about to do something really miraculous through you.
Flips over. He's like on the ground. Why? What happened? Car's on fire. Wife and daughters just annihilated. Just owned. Folks, there's no other word for it. Okay, cut ahead a few months, like even just like a few weeks actually, and we're in a college, like a college classroom, and there's sort of like a nerdish character and like a young woman who he's sort of like awkwardly running into, taking a very complicated science test, and he's like, finished. Oh man, that was tough. I think I aced it. And then he sort of like makes an awkward date with the other young genius who took this test. He still lives with his parents, and he brings this like hot young woman to his parents' basement where she's like, okay, I guess we're going out to a restaurant. And he's like, how about we stay in? And like, he just brings like 2 plates out of a fully prepared meal out of his refrigerator.
That's Louisville status.
And then they hang out in his science basement. And then strangely, like she dresses him up in his parents' clothing. This is the one part of the movie that I was just like, what's going on here? What am I looking at?
Well, that's okay, so that is, you didn't like this part, and I at first agreed with you, but now I kind of think it's another piece of genius filmmaking. And I think that Jim Carroll, just judging by his name, he is a 50-year-old man, but he's hip, he's with the times, and he knows that our hero, Ram Goldstein, the Jewish scientist, wants a mommy GF.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah.
So okay. Sorry. Our main character as Felix is the young science genius Ram Goldstein, and then there's like his love interest girl who's also a genius scientist, but she is a devout Christian. She wears a crucifix necklace, and they spar a little bit about God and praying and things like that, which is a staple of these movies, like the skeptic character, the sort of the condescending scientist versus like the smart but still faithful Christian.
But there's
I gotta say, like, this movie, like, usually like this part of these kind of movies are like unbearably like over the top, and like the non-believer is just such an asshole, and it's just all very stilted and like just like it's too on the nose. Whereas I thought it was rendered in a way that was like the kind of like the debate between the believer and the non-believer, between the atheistic scientist and the Christian, was done in a way that was not like just like nails on a chalkboard, or like it was like kind of faithfully rendered in a way that I could imagine 2 people having this actual conversation.
No,
like it seemed like something a little bit real.
These parts were great because usually in these evangelical movies, when you have like the soy non-believer guy, he's like, if God's real, he'd strike me down right now. And it's like later we find out they're like a pedophile or like killed somebody or like bad. But like Ram's like, he's a good guy. He's just like a little socially maladroit. And they have interesting debates. And then like later he like becomes Christian. You can cut that part.
Yeah. So
I don't want to spoil it.
Okay. So then we find out like, okay, the sort of science test that they were taking was like a test that was like given by this like sort of rich guy in his like institution, his science institution, where like the top 4 people who pass this incredibly hard science test are recruited by this like technology firm to work on like a secret project. And then we see them and like they've been hired, and it's like it's Ram, his girlfriend now at this point. That's the other thing, because usually like the movie takes for granted that like a Christian could date someone who's like a non-believer. Like she's not a totally like, stringent, puritanical in her beliefs. Like she's sort of cool and realistic. She's like a real person, not like a Christian person being portrayed in a movie. And then there is a Latino guy and a black guy that's also working with them. And the Latino guy's really only personality trait is that he has a stuffed penguin that he's really into. And then like the black guy, like I said, is sort of racistly there for kind of comic relief, where he's like, just kind of, mugging for the camera and like saying, he's just there to be like a little comical,
Yeah, the black guy so he passed the same science test that these other geniuses passed, but he's always he's like, man, when are we going to go to the Wiz Khalifa concert? It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, the black scientist was recruited from Taylor Gang.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of subtext that, in the movie where it's we're supposed to think the black guy isn't nearly as smart as Ram or the woman or whatever, but it's they all passed the same test. Presumably they were the 4 best scientists in that class doing the science test, but
so they're working at this this secret privately run science project, and their benefactor is referred to as the world's most famous refugee. And then I think we learned his name is Ahmed Akbar or something.
Yes.
And he's this sort of
wait. Ahmed Akbar, I don't want to spoil it, but he's a very important character that Ram sees him talk to. Or no, wait, that's
Sabir.
Sheikh Amir or some shit.
Sabir is his henchman. So he's this rich benefactor who's paying them a nice salary, and he's like, oh my, you kids are so brilliant. You've made more headway on this project than my entire research staff has in years or whatever, and you're on the verge of this big discovery. And what they're working on, we find out, is basically the Brendel-Fly teleporter. They're trying to figure out a way to transmit matter through space. As we said, this is what Seth Brendel was trying to do before he, famously.
This is what Mark Brendel was doing with his 2 chairs.
He was trying to move them across the room.
So they're on the verge of creating a teleporter. And then, again, like I said, in a pretty kind of tight bit of sci-fi sort of, universe building and concept mongering, Ram realizes that essentially, if you believe correctly, because you've listened to the Alan Moore Chapo episode, that time exists as physical space, as a 4th dimension of physical space, as a constant. A machine that can teleport matter through space is by definition also a time machine. And he realizes that the key to syncing up teleportation is factoring in time. So inadvertently, in getting the teleportation machine to work, he realizes that they have accidentally created a time travel machine.
Oh shit.
And that if you can transport a chair or even a human body from one time pad to the other, then necessarily you can transmit it through space to a fixed point in time that exists, concurrently with every other moment in time. Right? You guys with me?
I'm feeling it. See, this is already more thought than anyone has ever put into all combined Christian films.
Yeah. Or even the film Time Cop, where they waste the potential.
Oh God, what a waste of a concept. That
Yeah.
still pisses me off to think about. There's 2 scenes in the There's a scene where the guy steals from Confederate gold, and there's a scene where Van Damme throws a guy out of the window during the Great Depression. And that's it.
I mean, to be fair, they really only go to one time location in this movie, but they do a lot with it.
They do a lot more with it than Time Cop did, that's for sure.
Most you could do with this time travel.
So, not shortly thereafter, Ram discovers that he has invented time travel. Him and his girlfriend sneak off to the server room for a little canoodling. And then while they're there, he's like, hey, what's this? Someone's attempting to access the server from the outside. Let's just tap into this and see what this outside communication is. And they open up the vid screen, and it is a Al-Qaeda style terrorist leader communicating with their benefactor Ahmed Akbar. And he's like, is the teleportation device complete? And he's like, we're almost there, Allah, we're doing this for you. And they're like, oh, as soon as we have it, we can transport a bomb to any GPS coordinates in the world, and
we shouldn't have let those refugees in. They become super wealthy and build teleportation devices.
And how many times does it need to happen?
Honestly, how stupid are we, folks?
Yeah.
We do get a little backstory for Ahmed. Is that like when he was a child, he saw his parents executed by like ISIS-style terrorists for being Christian, and it's never explained how he like started out as Christian and then became a fundamentalist Muslim.
Yeah,
I
thought Ahmed would be like that. They were doing like have you ever seen like TCOTs or QAnon people? They put the Arabic Christian symbol in their bios, and it's like that's the good type of Muslim, the Christian kind.
Yeah,
but it's like this movie's very steadfast in its belief that even the Christian type of Muslim is a Muslim.
Well, I think the main thing is like the easy no brainer here is he got killed by like U.S. troops or something or Israel.
Well, no, they clearly
but you can't do that. Like these guys, they have certain mental is you know however creative this movie is, there are certain mental blocks, and one of them is the idea of like humanizing someone who is a victim of American or Israeli violence.
They could never do that.
Yeah. So instead, it's like the Muslims nagged me into joining them by killing my parents.
Yeah, and so they try to address this. And our genius Ram Goldstein is like, oh, it's Munchausen syndrome. That's why he's a Muslim.
Stockholm syndrome. Munchausen syndrome.
No, they say Munchausen.
No, she says Stockholm syndrome. So you've got Ahmed, who is secretly working for the terrorists to develop a matter transport device so that they can blow up, the Pentagon or the Second World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Which actually raises an interesting religious question. Like, if they're going to use a teleportation device to just instantly like move a bomb anywhere they want, it would sort of do away with the need for martyrdom, and they wouldn't need to justify killing yourself in a holy war anymore if you could just move a bomb, because the whole brilliant part about suicide bombing is that if you're willing to die, it's very easy to get a pretty decent explosive device into almost anywhere you need to get it.
Oh, yeah.
And kill a lot of people to do it.
I think in the sequel they'll address this.
Okay. So if you had a matter transport device, it would obviate the need for martyrdom. Interesting. The movie doesn't address this, but it's just a thought I had now. Okay, so concurrently to all of this, you have the guy whose family was killed in the very beginning of the movie. His name is Brandt, and he's sort of like an operator. He's an ex-operator guy, and we see like footage of him weeks after his family dies, and he's like in a bottle, and he like takes out a gun, and he like is thinking about blowing his brains out, and he's like, "No, I'm not a coward. I'm going."
That was awesome. They came out strong against suicide in this movie. Saying what everyone's too afraid to say, that it's for cowards.
Yes. So he's like, no, like, fuck this. I may be depressed. And then he's angry at God. He's like in his living room and he's like, how could you let this happen, God? Like, I served you. I did everything for you and you took my family from me. Like, you let it happen. You wanted it to happen. You didn't stop it from happening. It's all the same to me. Like, you're a bastard, you son of a bitch. He's doing the Jebediah. He's doing the Bartlett stuff. Bartlett stuff.
But
I mean, this guy honestly has more reason to do it than Bartlett. Like, this guy's like, you killed my family, God. How could you do this? Whereas Bartlett was like, I lowered tariffs on trades from Mexico, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, Bartlett is
you.
yelling at God because his extremely elderly secretary died, and because his approval ratings are only 40%. Yeah. Bartlett like does it in Latin, which is like, why would God speak Latin, you fucking idiot? But Brandt does it in this movie in the
American
true language
Protestant
of God.
style. Yeah.
American Protestant English, the true language of God.
We will get that becomes a plot point in this movie.
Yeah.
But we are not there yet. So Brandt's like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going back to work for the world's most famous refugee and secret terrorist, Ahmed Akbar. And he's like a sort of private security contractor who's, he's like the head of security for this, the technology firm where the young geniuses have just invented time travel. And Ahmed's just like, hey, like, we brought on your team, but like, just make sure nobody knows about this project, because like, that's what you're hired for, is to preserve my, intellectual property and, like trademarks on this like technology that I'm developing. So Brandt is working as like an ex-operator who's lost his faith in God and family for a guy who's secretly developed time travel and is also a terrorist. So at some point, it becomes clear that to Ahmed and his like gang of like evil Muslimic style Confederates, that Ram Goldstein has not just got their teleportation device to work, but like I said, has invented time travel. And then like I forget, it's sort of he tries to stop them or hide this revelation from them, and they get wise to it and like detain him. They like, handcuff him to a chair, hit him with a taser, and then tell the 3 other young geniuses that like, oh, like he's fine, but you can't leave here or call anyone for the next like couple days until, we get this done. And so they sort of sequester him, and like he's done something to the device where like he's the only one that knows the code that can turn on like the computer that will like get the time travel coordinates to work, blah, blah, blah. I forget at what point Ahmed decides to use the time travel device to erase Christianity. I mean, this is where we get the title of the movie from, Assassin 33 AD. He's like, why send bombs to, the State Department or whatever when I can just go back in time and do away with, a Christian America, all of Christianity ever existing, which is, this is what the terrorists want to do. And this raises another interesting question because like I said, as competently done as this was for the people making it, I don't think they took seriously enough the actual kind of Wahhabist, ISIS-style terrorist mindset. Because as we were watching this, I said if they had a working time machine and had the choice to go back in time and kill Jesus, who's a very important prophet in Islam, or kill Ali, who founded the offshoot apostate, Shia Islam, I think they would definitely whack out all of Shia Islam and have one perfect sort of Sunni caliphate rather than do away with Christendom.
Or they would, if you believe some theories about ISIS, they would go back in time and make sure that Frank Church was never born.
Yes, that is the actual thing they would do. Yes.
So anyway, Ahmed now has a working time machine, and he's going to use it to send a team of operators back to Palestine in 33 AD to kill Jesus Christ before he is martyred. And now this brought up an interesting question to me, and I was trying to poke holes in the plot, and I was like, wait a second. If they go back in time and kill Jesus Christ, like they erase the history of Christianity, but like wouldn't that necessarily also erase the history of Islam, which necessarily comes after Christianity? As like, Christianity was an incomplete revelation of God that Muhammad fulfilled as his prophet, and that Christ himself was an important prophet, but just not a believer. And then Matt correctly pointed out that it's Assassin 33 AD, not Assassin 0 AD.
Yes.
So they're not going back in time to kill baby Jesus, thus erasing his entire life and
he is an important prophet in Islam, so you can't
up
do
to that point. They're merely killing him before his believers get it in their head that he was resurrected, because that
he sacrificed. Because it's like they're Muslims, so they don't think Jesus rose from the dead, but they do think that he was crucified, and they're thinking rightly as it was his sacrifice that like galvanized his supporters and created this social movement that became Christianity. If you take him out before, Pilate and the crucifix and all that stuff, he's just some guy mouthing off.
We can't kill him. Jesus is a prophet. We should honor him.
Yes, and that's what we will be doing. When he died, his disciples created the resurrection myth, which gave birth to Christianity. We can correct that.
But if we kill him, we'll all be cursed.
Just the opposite. Allah would honor us. We would be correcting the greatest deception of all time. He will be remembered as a great prophet, but not as a son of God. Jesus would want that.
And we will be effectively dismantling Christianity.
Exactly. He's just one of the many other Messiah figures like of that era in that time and place in the world. And the other interesting thing is that it's almost like the resurrection is almost not as important as his sacrifice and suffering on the cross. It's that he was willing to die for it. That it's like that's like the actually kind of the most important thing. The resurrection is sort of like just the icing on the cake. They're like,
right?
Oh, shit, this was real.
They don't think it happened. That's the crucial thing. Non-Christians don't think that happened.
Yeah, but his sacrifice is still important. So they're going back to a moment of time, and they go back in time basically to the exact moment of the temptation in the garden, right before he is kissed on the cheek by Judas and handed off to the centurions. So they're going to do away with even his martyrdom on the cross, right? Which also raises another point. I think the slickest move, if you were the terrorist with a time machine, is to go back and just bring like a herd of goats with you and just bribe Pontius Pilate to just be like, yeah, just let this guy go. Just leave him alone. Because that would do away with the sacrifice. He would just be another guy then. So like that's the slickest move. No assassination is even really necessary if you just pay off Pilate to just let him go with a slap on the wrist and just ignore him for the rest of his life. Interesting. Like I said, raises a lot of questions, this movie.
Yeah, it's like I said, they really thought it through.
Yeah, it's not like this again. It's not just like, oh, something bad happens. Better time to really believe in God, buddy. It's like, no. What is the true nature of our beliefs? What are the facts of our beliefs? Just an incredible, a rare work ethic from evangelical filmmakers in all ways.
So at this point, Ram is dedicated. It knows that his boss is a terrorist. Knows that he can in no way. I mean, letting a terrorist have a teleportation machine, bad enough. Letting a terrorist have a time machine, buddy, that's the one thing you don't do. That's the one thing we don't want to have.
Oh, no. We gave that terrorist a time machine.
Exact thing we were trying to prevent.
Yeah.
So, like, he's trying to hold out and be like, I'll never give you the code, Ahmed. And then Ahmed makes Brandt, his security consultant. He's like, this guy has information I need. You're an operator. You know how to get it from him. Do your thing. And the guy's like, whoa, really? But because his faith is shattered, he takes to it pretty quickly. And he handcuffs him to a chair and just punches him in the face a couple times. And he's like, this guy's not budging.
Yeah.
This guy's good.
He used all his master Green Beret interrogation techniques, which is just tying a guy down and punching him. He really needed like 3 years of specialization training for that. The same thing that like any hot dog neck Chicago cop can do.
I mean, they would have done it with the phone book.
Get John Burge in there. He would have fucking settled that shit out quick.
Yeah, and you could have paid John Burge
plastic bag over the head. That works.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, Ahmed is supposed to be like a evil genius, but like he could have just paid some Chicago imbecile in Kielbasa and got the same expertise he got from Brandt.
Yeah, so what you want out of this guy? Yeah, no problem.
You want this guy to build some kind of time machine? Yeah, I got that for you.
All right, yeah. The Madigans have a time machine.
Okay, so Ahmed's like, okay, this guy's a little bit more of a tough cookie than we had anticipated. I'm going to send out Samir and my other terrorist friends to kidnap his parents, bring them to my office, and then execute them in front of him, which he does. And Ram does not give up the code after he watches his dad and then mom get tapped in the head right in front of him. So he's taking it pretty seriously. But then Ahmed, literally, he is willing to watch his parents get executed. But the thing Ram won't do is let his girlfriend be roughed up by a terrorist.
We should point out that she's stacked, so it's understandable.
Yeah, she's kind of fire. She's kind of like a Dana Loesch type.
Yeah.
But again, not nearly as like shrill, cruel, or vindictive as any of these like actual, like the young evangelical baddies who you're aware of through the media are. Like the girlfriend in this movie is like a good person.
My dream is for just an evangelical baddie who fucking hates me. Hates my fucking guts.
That's the key that they need. That's the leverage that they need for him to get the time machine working. And he turns it on, and he gets Brandt, who again, like they're just like, okay, he started out the day just thinking he was like a private security consultant for like a technology company. As the day progresses, he's torturing like a young man, and then participating in like his parents being executed in an act of torture. So he's like, again, I guess if you lose your faith, you can fall pretty low. And then shortly after that, he's just like, oh yeah, I'm now part of a wet work team that's going to be transported back to Palestine in the first century to kill the Messiah.
But he's fine with it.
He's fine with it.
Fuck God. He let his wife die, kids die.
Well, this is also a message. It's like this movie. This is a message to evangelical men that like this is what happens when you don't work in your brother-in-law's boat store. Like this is the type of stuff you can get up to. Like so, watch out for that.
So there's a scene where where Brandt, the faithless operator, is sort of like questioning himself after he's been beating up a teenager or whatever, the guy, he's not a teenager, but yeah, just beating up some science nerd who did nothing wrong and is just just doing his job, inventing teleportation, really. And then he's like, he's like sort of having a moment where he's sort of talking to the God he doesn't believe in. And he's like, God, I've fallen pretty low. I didn't think I would be torturing a kid today. But you know what? Like, if you don't show yourself to me right now, everything that happens after this, that's on you, God. That's on you. And it raises another interesting theological question, because this movie, of course, presupposes that God is real and that everything that happens is on him. So that God participates in sending an operator back in time to assassinate his son and himself, if you believe in, a triune God. So it's sort of like God, everything that does happen after this, it is on him, and it is also part of his plan. So it makes sense. They send the operators, by the way, in full SWAT team gear, back to, like I said, the garden at
Gethsemane.
Gethsemane, yeah, the garden at Gethsemane. They send a full wet work team in like SWAT team gear and like fucking like assault ARs back to the temptation of the garden. And what happens? Brandt, the fucking they spray a couple of the disciples, and then I think they tag Jesus in the leg, and then Brandt is like,
Jesus gets legged, he's bleeding out, but it's like you can tag and bag him, you can give him a Muslim Christian burial at sea.
So Brandt is standing over the Son of God, the Messiah, and then Jesus Christ starts speaking to him in English. And when that first started in the movie, I was like, oh, this is fucking ridiculous. The guy, he's speaking English, a language that hasn't even been invented yet, to this guy in perfect 21st century American Protestant Christian English. But then they explain that Brandt is the only one who experiences that. None of the other Muslimic style assassins, they're just hearing Aramaic, or like they're not being spoken to in a language they recognize. So Brandt experiences Jesus Christ speaking to him in a language that doesn't exist, is communicating with him, which is like a pretty good indication that it's the real McCoy that you're dealing with. Again, who you're standing over with like a 45 caliber handgun pointed at his head. And then he's like, are you the Son of God? Like, if you really were the Son of God, you would stop this from happening. And then he's like, but Brandt, what if I want it to happen?
I like it. I'm actually
Brandt's
laughing.
like, you know what? You made a good point. Pow, pow! Double tap to the head.
If you really are the Son of God, you can stop these bullets.
Unless I allow it.
No. You are not giving me your life. I am taking it from you.
I have already died for you.
These lies.
Do what you must do.
Just more lies. This is for taking my family.
This was the moment that this movie really became something special.
Oh, I was stunned.
I love this. I love this.
I assumed that
right.
it was going to just be some ululating guys in baklava shooting Jesus with AKs. No, this is an American operator talking in Jesus in English and then blowing his brains out with a 9mm.
I was expecting the Christianity movies Mark I would have had a guy like the Muhammad Akbar go back in time and be like, Allah, 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 and then just like spray him with an AK and then fire the AK into the air, or just do a bunch of racist cartoonist bullshit. The fact that this movie makes Christ's executioner a former U.S. soldier and faithful servant of Christ who has lost his faith, then experience something miraculous happen. And by that, I mean a guy speaking in English, not time travel, which is already a big one. That's a big one. He experiences both time travel and then interacts with the Son of God, and then just cold-blooded, pop, pop, just executes him, puts him down like a dog.
And this was the most ideological thing we've ever seen in these movies. Like, these other movies are so lazy. Like, Reliant, we thought it was going to be about like Antifa, but it doesn't even commit to anything. None of these movies fucking commit to anything except like, oh, like God is good. But this is like, no, American Protestants need to be able to kill God to ensure he's real.
Yes.
Like, it's so fucking it's so alpha, dude.
We have talked like at great length on this show, especially recently, about American Protestantism and what a kind of a sui generis sort of mutation in religious history, the coming together of the currents of Protestantism and the Reformation, and the colonization of the American continent by those people created something that heretofore didn't exist. And Matt has articulated, I think, a fairly convincing case that American Protestantism of any variety is in and of itself a new and original religion. It is a new form of Christianity that did not and would not exist without the creation of America happening concurrently to it.
Yes, because it is the God that the American Protestant worships is America, not God.
Yes, but crucially in this movie, like a Catholic never could have made this movie.
Never.
A Catholic would have just been agonized over your own sin or your complicity in the crucifixion.
He would have fallen down and cried at Jesus like Keitel and Bad Lieutenant.
I've done so many bad things. I've done so many bad things.
You know what the Catholic version of this movie is? It's the guy making the time machine, then feeling bad because it like puts him on a level with God, then masturbating, then killing himself, and then 4 hours of funeral scenes. That's the Catholic version of this movie.
And then a pre-Vatican II... No, the Catholic time machine movie would be a guy would invent a time machine so he could go back and hear pre-Vatican II Mass in Latin. That's all he would use it for. In this movie, the Protestant who's lost his faith becomes Christ's executioner.
Awesome.
Blows his goddamn head off.
Literally looks at God on the ground, crawling in agony, and is like, "Fuck you!"
After hearing him speak English
and acknowledging that it was,
the fact that the only way he could be speaking English to him was because it was some sort of fucking supernatural fucking.
And he's like, "Fuck you! My family's dead. That's all that matters to me."
He's like, "You didn't save my family." You didn't save my family. The Son of God, actually, who I'm talking to through both the miracle of time travel and the fact that this is a divine presence.
That Christian religion is real.
You didn't save my family. So if you think I'm saving you, you got another thing coming, buddy. Pow! Blow!
So sick.
So
sick.
Fucking badass.
I don't want to chime in too much in this thing, but I do want to just underscore how from the moment Christ gets executed with a handgun, how much from 0 to 60 this thing goes immediately, because it's like from up to this, like the tone is like kind of like, this will be another Christian film, and like, oh yeah, we see the guy who's a scientist and the girl who's Christian, they debate, and there's the family, and then from this moment on, this is like full on sci-fi time travel, multiple time streams, people killing themselves from other time streams.
So
and it's still like an hour and a half left in the movie. It honestly rocks.
So, at this point, like this is going to become very complicated to accurately relate the plot of a movie to you, because obviously, anytime you have to do with time travel and multiple timelines, things get very convoluted.
And this is, of course, different than usually when we have a hard time describing the plot of Christian movies, because everyone looks identical. And they're just all standing in kitchens around like marble countertops. And you're like, I stopped paying attention to who any of these people are 10 minutes ago. This is actually like kind of hard because they really take the time travel thing seriously.
And you know what? I think probably like the two best time travel movies ever made, La Jetée and the original Terminator. This movie does have I wouldn't say maybe airtight, I'd have to see it again, but it does like fulfill for itself within the movie's own logic, like an actually like closed time loop where things like it makes there is an inherent internal logic to the time travel in the movie that like closes itself off and like resolves itself nicely.
Rather impressively, because you've got scenes where people are like sign languaging signals to themselves from a different time stream that only they would understand.
Yes.
And they keep creating like duplicate versions of people, and then every one of those duplicate versions are dealt with, and like all the
they get killed or something.
At this point, like the movie becomes about how Ram and the three other geniuses have to like use the time machine to like go back in time and stop Ahmed from changing history. Now, there's another sort of novel, I think actually, or maybe even original to this movie. I mean, maybe it's been done before in other sci-fi stories, but the explanation about changing something in the past doesn't instantaneously alter the present.
Yeah.
Because the
It
way
takes
Rom
time.
describes it is that it takes time. It's like the speed of light. It only appears instantaneous, but it actually has a fixed speed. And then if you go back, 2,000 years in the past and change something, it takes a certain amount of time. It could be a minute, a day, an hour, a week to catch up to the present. Time has to rewrite itself throughout the continuum. And he describes it like a hard drive, like wiping a memory or like reformatting like a hard drive.
Yeah.
Which is like, look, I mean, it's all sci-fi gobbledygook, but within the movie, I thought was a pretty good explanation for why, like, as soon as Jesus was assassinated in the past, it doesn't instantly alter everything about the present. So they still have time to use the time machine themselves to go back to the same point in time and try to like stop it from happening. So then, like, once they go back in time to the moment that the SWAT team arrives. And then they prevent it from happening, and Jesus is taken by the Romans. But then, like, they are killed, or when they go back,
I do
they're killed
want to shout out
instantly.
the kind of novel way that they four unarmed nerds deal with the SWAT team, which is getting there moments before the SWAT team gets there and just picking up logs and holding the logs into where the SWAT team is materializing.
This is
just
another moment.
exploding their hearts.
Yeah,
This
because
is another
at
moment.
first
This
they
is
pick
another
up these
moment where I was
sticks and
like,
they're
I was
"This is
trying to get snotty about like picking holes in the movie, and I was like, wait a second, these fucking like science nerds just took out a whole team of operators with sticks, but no, they placed the sticks in the fucking in the space in which the bodies materialize. So with their body, like your heart, when it reforms, like when the molecules and atoms are like come back together in the other space and time, your heart forms around a fucking tree branch, and
you're
you
dead,
die
bitch.
instantly.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He thought it through.
Amazing.
God love him.
Not bad.
Jesus
Not bad.
Amazing. This guy worked his ass off on this.
So, and then again, I'm not going to faithfully render exactly what happens because it does get convoluted because there are multiple timelines now where the original Rom that goes back into the past goes back to the present and is killed. Yeah. And then, but they're able to send a message to the Rom that exists in that timeline before he had gone back in time to go back in time again and continue the mission or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
and also to this movie's credit, it gets pretty grisly for one of these. Like, there's not that much like actual blood or anything, but a lot of people get killed. There are shots in this movie
multiple
that
times
are just like, yeah, some people get killed multiple times through different time continuities. There are shots where it's just like a pile of bodies of people who had just been killed in the past, including some of the main characters who end up living through the entire movie as corpses.
Yeah.
Just hanging out in the time
or
chamber 'cause
seeing
they
their
got-
own dead bodies.
Yes.
Which has got to be pretty disturbing, right?
Seeing
It
themselves
happens-
murdered on camera.
I would say every character sees themselves killed about 3 times in the last half of this movie.
Very traumatic.
Incredible.
So I'm not going to get identically like the details of the plot here because it does become kind of like a Christian Sound of Thunder story, but it doesn't do it in like the really cliched way of like, oh, like a butterfly flaps its wings, or like you step off the line and then like, you come back to the future and everyone's a mutant, or like everything is radically different. But there is one scene I do want to talk about where the black guy character has a moment where he blips back into time exactly in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it's Jesus having his moment of temptation in the garden. And then all of a sudden there's like this guy who's just like, hey buddy, what's up? Hey, I think I know you. I think you're Jesus Christ. And then like he starts telling him like, look, Jesus, man, I saw your movie. I got it on bootleg, which he said, I got your movie on bootleg, clearly referring to the Passion of the Christ. And he's like, listen, bruh, I'm not going to lie to you. They fuck your shit up real good. Like they whip you. They're gonna put a crown of thorns on you. They're gonna nail your ass to a 2x4 and let you hang there for 3 days while you suffocate. Not good. But then the weird thing is he's trying to talk Jesus out of it, which would functionally fulfill the same role that Ahmed the terrorist is trying to do by killing him.
Yeah, the guy really does not get Christianity. He
No,
does not really comprehend the whole idea.
He has a good heart, but he is.
You don't want to see a guy go through that, but he kind of has to.
Yeah, no, and Jesus really wants to. He's like, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the drug scenes in Walk Hard. No,
you don't want no part of
You
this.
don't want that. They're gonna whip you. They're gonna beat you. You're gonna die for all mankind's sins. You don't want that.
So at some point, Brandt and Sabir, who's the evil Muslimic henchman, like Mark II of them are sent back again into the same, back to 33 AD in the Garden of Gethsemane. They get separated or something, and then they're stuck there. Everyone has these weird little like wristwatches, or what can like actually like these are the thing that allows them to be retrieved from that space to the other
sci-fi
space in the
woo-woo
present.
stuff. But it like the way they set it up, it like narratively works. If you have one of these wristwatches on, you can get taken back. If you lose yours, you're stuck there.
You're stuck in in first century Palestine, which again, like you don't speak the language. You have like you're dressed differently than anyone else. And then like the girlfriend at one point gets shot in the stomach and is just bleeding out in the desert, like in the fucking some dirty ass town next to Golgotha for a couple days. So then Brandt, the executor of Christ, but in this timeline they have prevented that, so Christ still is alive in this 33 AD Mark II. He has been taken by the Romans at this point and is being like led on the procession to Calvary. Brandt, like they get like local clothes, and Brandt is trying to like blend in, but Sabir, the asshole, keeps his gun with him, and they're just like walking through a market, and he just like steals a tomato. That actually isn't that is a bit of actual. That's a goof.
That tomato is a new world fruit. Does not exist.
Tomatoes
not exist.
Did not exist at that
Get a
point.
date or something. Come on.
Yeah,
you read the Bible, you know what fruits are in there.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are not one of them.
Dude, it's like, dude, the hottest thing right now is like, ancient grains.
Yeah.
Just any of those Ezekiel products, those existed in the Bible.
Yeah.
All of those delicious all those delicious whole grains. You could get them at any market in Palestine. They're great. They're good for you, wholesome, delicious. So he steals a tomato, and then of course runs afoul of the tomato salesman and the Roman security. And like the Romans are like, they're trying to arrest him, and they take out their short sword. And then Samir, like an idiot, just pulls out his Glock and pops the dude straight in the chest. And then, of course, they're overcome, and Samir and Brandt are arrested by the Roman authorities, which leads to I think actually the most incredible moment in this
Mind
movie.
blowing. Just brilliant.
So I'm going to set it up.
screenwriting.
I'm going to set it up because, okay, so they're witnessing, like the black guy is in the crowd witnessing the procession to Golgotha. And then, like, Christ falls down and he's being whipped by the Romans. And, like, he intervenes and is like, come on, man. Like, he's had enough or whatever. And then unwittingly becomes the person in the Bible who carries the cross for Jesus on the procession to Golgotha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wearing like a tri-blend Gap tee and a pair of
Yes, he's wearing Nike sneakers, jeans, and a Gap tri-blend, like a nice sort of like Arab, like breathable fabric t-shirt.
Yes.
Everyone else is in robes and sandals.
Yep.
Nobody seems to notice too much about that. So then we get to see at this point Ram, his girlfriend has been gut shot by one of the operators.
Brandt.
And no, not Brandt. Ram's girlfriend has been shot in the gut by Brandt. Yes.
Yeah. That's
by
what I
Brandt.
meant. She's
okay, sorry.
Like, because it's important that Brandt shoots her.
Brandt shoots her in the stomach, and she's dying of a gunshot wound in first century Palestine. Not much they can do for you. He's like carrying her around. He's like, doctor, anyone? Is there a doctor in the house? And then walks up to, I forgot. When they were arrested by the Romans, Sabir loses his time wristwatch, and then a woman you may know, picks the wristwatch up off the ground and takes it with her. So Ram and his gut-shot girlfriend show up at Golgotha to watch Christ be crucified. Ram carries the girl up to the crucified Christ and does his whole thing about like, how could you let this happen? If you were really the Son of God, you would save her. Like, how could you do this? Blah, blah. While he's doing this, let's not forget, 2 people were crucified with Christ. He looks up, and the guys next to Christ on the cross are talking to him, and they are Sabir and Brandt.
Boom.
The good thief and the impenitent thief are actually time-traveling assassins sent back to kill Christ before his martyrdom.
And best of all, the good thief, the one who converts on the cross and gets forgiven by Jesus, is Brandt, the guy who blew Jesus's brains out in another time stream.
This is what I mean.
Incredible.
Like that scene where like the time traveling operator assassins are in fact the good thief and the impenitent thief from the Bible who are crucified with Christ. That's what I mean. It was like, this is like a real, like if Philip K. Dick wrote this story, like it would be fucking incredible. Like this is something right out of his fucking body of work. This is the Black Iron Prison. The Roman Empire never left. The fucking pink light. Like we are all still the disciples of Christ. Like Christ told his followers, I will return like after the Roman Empire. And the reason Christ has not returned is because the Roman Empire has never ended and we are still living in it. We are still living in the Black Iron Prison. Get on that pink light from the Vallis signal. It is beaming out of you. We are still all living in first century Palestine as followers of Christ, whether we're aware of it or not. But we are still living under the tyranny of the Roman Empire. And that, yes, the two people crucified with Christ were time-traveling assassins sent back to kill him.
One Muslim, one left
must
Christian.
stress that. I simply must stress
It's amazing.
Then no one ever talks about the martyred operator in the Bible. This is like, you guys know how much I love Mormons, right?
Yeah.
But the idea that a troop went back in time to kill Jesus and then forgive him and then be crucified is... Protestants now beat Mormons in making...
I gotta say, they gotta step up their game after this.
Mormons, I believe in you guys. I'm big fans of you guys, but right now the Proudies are ahead. Let's do this.
You know, Mormons introduced the space travel and sort of a galactic sci-fi plot to Christianity. But now with this movie, the evangelicals have come right back with a hard sci-fi time travel element to Christianity as well.
I have to say, is this how we get Warhammer? Is this how Warhammer becomes real? Because this movie, I hope this movie is a hit because I want a lot of evangelical psychos who abuse Adderall to get really into quantum mechanics.
Yes.
And make Trump the emperor from Warhammer. This is how we get it.
All right, so where does this movie go next?
Okay, no, all right. So remember, so Jesus, so wait a minute. Ram is in front of Jesus. Amy's dying in his arms, and he's yelling at Jesus to save her because he's like, if you're who you say you are, you have the power to stop all this, and you're not doing it. And Jesus tells him, you have to forgive Brandt. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's dying because he shot her. Help me. And then it all ends, and he's like, God damn, he's mad at Jesus.
What I love about that scene, though, is that it presupposes that Christ's last words on the cross were, forgive Brandt.
Forgive Brandt, yes.
And it was like, it is accomplished.
Yeah.
The forgiveness of Brandt.
Which is a very American evangelical idea.
Yeah, this is a guy named Brandt.
A guy named Brandt. Like,
Bible.
Cameron and Brandt were saved by Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
So he goes back.
No, don't give us Barabbas. Don't give us Barabbas. Give us Hunter.
Yeah.
We want take him down off the cross.
No, I cannot, dude. Evangelicals are going to write books of the Bible called like the Books of Tyler after this. I can't wait.
Yeah. Because according to this, like there was a guy named Brandt at the crucifixion, and it ties the entire thing together.
The sensation that the two thieves being Brandt and Sabir being an incredible loop to close. Again, that's just like the first of like 6 concentric loops that the movie continues to close.
I forget at what point in the plot this happens, but like obviously dealing with time travel, the classic Ray Bradbury Sound of Thunder conception of it, that altering the past changes the present in unexpected ways. So at one point, Ahmed, like in the present, like experiences like a quantum shift and is like, aha, like Allah be praised, like finally the Christian filth are gone from the world. And I was really, again, this movie beat my expectations because like the shitty Christian movie would have shown you like a like a version of our reality in which Christianity had never existed. And it would be like, I don't know, all of our women are in like the harem of some big fat guy who's like a sultan, or, you know, like,
I was saying that I wanted a CGI shot of the New York City skyline, but all the tops of the skyscrapers are all minarets.
Yeah. I was expecting something kind of hokey and offensive like that. But what they show is that he instantly thinks it works, and he's like, Allah be praised, all the Christian dogs have like been erased from history. And then it quantum shifts again, and they are standing in like, I don't know, the fallout ruins of a city, of like a post-apocalypse. And then like I think the Latino character says like, this is the world you created. This is the world that exists without forgiveness, without the mercy of Christ. And it's just like, and Matt, you made another interesting point where like this goes against the the idiotic and racist like Ben Shapiro Athens to Jerusalem thesis.
Yeah,
that you can't have any like modern society without Christianity.
Yeah.
You can't have technology or like any of the sort of like a modern technological society were it not for the Athens to Jerusalem connection. What this movie says is that even if you erase Christianity, you would still have like a 21st century like technological society with cities and computers and cars and all that shit, but it would be like a blasted ruin because without the Christ's message of love and forgiveness, humanity would have invariably destroyed itself. So that is the one like sort of actual like Sound of Thunder mega like global level ramifications for this plot being pulled off. But then again, it's like, it's undone in various other timelines. So I forget kind of how that resolves itself, but
it doesn't, because like they dissolve, because all those like they cut away from those guys, because eventually what happens is Ram gets back and he goes back to right before his parents were going to get killed, saves his parents from getting killed, which means all those other timelines don't happen. So like all those versions of Amir and everybody, the ones who die, the ones who live, they all like wink out of existence, and they actually show it happening to a few people, and it's very much it's Infinity Wars, Thanos, like they turn into like dust and float off.
Yeah, this is Christian Avengers, and this is actually a far better movie than Infinity War.
Oh, unquestionably.
Like, unquestionably.
Like this is like it's better written, it's smarter and less grating against like my like just moral, artistic, and philosophical sense than any Marvel movie ever made.
The time travel between Infinity War and Endgame, this makes much more sense and is much more ambitious in what it's trying to accomplish.
Oh yeah, like because usually like by now, like I said, time travel has been so beat to death in movies that like once you introduce the gobbledygook, you can just do anything. Like no one's paying attention at all. It's just like it's all just like a Deus Ex Machina. Whereas this has an actual Deus Ex Machina because God is real, but a time travel plot line that actually kind of makes sense. So once again, hats off to director and writer Jim Carroll.
Yeah, I gotta say, I respect him a great deal.
Do you want to hear what Jim Carroll's major other credit is?
Yeah, what is it?
Of course.
He did a show called Marriage Boot Camp.
Oh, I know about that show.
I remember that show.
High tier reality show.
Yeah, he was the host of Marriage Boot Camp and also has appeared as himself on Poker Night in America for several seasons.
That's a strong evangelical tradition, Poker Night in America.
So I remember like towards the end, there's another scene where Ahmed is like, okay, well so my plot to kill Christ before he's martyred on the cross. Okay, like that's kaput now. So I'm going to go to a new timeline where I'm going to go to the tomb and remove his body before his followers can pretend or witness his resurrection. Which again, if you're a devout Muslim, you don't think Christ was resurrected, so you're just going to kind of like do some shenanigans with the body. But then if you remove the body, it's sort of like that is a sign of something miraculous. So did anyone catch that? Could you explain that?
Wait, which part?
Where Ahmed goes to the tomb.
Oh, I honestly know. They end up going to the tomb and seeing Jesus.
And the girlfriend gets to witness the resurrection.
Yeah, the girlfriend witnesses the resurrection before she dies, and she gets some
FaceTime with JC.
Gets some FaceTime with JC. But the gist of it is that they like protect his emergence, and like Mary and the people, they see him, they go into the thing, they're waving for some reason that some things I missed. One of them was they're in the cave waving glow sticks, which really impressed Mary.
No, Ahmed brings glow sticks to the cave to, just like give him some...
So they can rave out.
Yeah, some reading light while he's waiting there. So,
at the end of it, the thing that matters is after all these twists and turns, and it is very Baroque, but they all make sense, Ram shows back up right before his parents get killed, saves his parents while he is tied to a chair about to watch them get killed, and then goes to stop the whole thing. Ahmed gets the drop on him with his guys, but then Brandt gets
Ram Mark 2 or 3 goes back to a timeline where he's interacting with Brandt Mark 1 before he goes back in time to execute Jesus Christ.
Right.
And that
Yes.
Ram Mark 3 is aware that Brant will in the future kill his girlfriend. But Jesus has told him, forgive Brant.
Yeah.
So there's a point where Ram has the gun on Brant, who's just like, buddy, I don't know what you're talking about. Time travel? This is a bit much for me. I haven't killed Amy yet. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's just like, you will, you ass, you bastard, or whatever. But he can't stop thinking about what Christ told him. And Ram makes the decision not to forgive Brant, Mark 1, before he goes back in time to kill Jesus and his girlfriend. So like Brant experiences a moment of Christian forgiveness, and like that is his sort of like re-coming to faith. And the other interesting thing that I said when I was watching this is that by introducing a time travel element to a religious movie, it dramatizes just for the viewer, but for the characters in the movie that are normal people who are not the Son of God, the choice to die or to forgive someone that you know will kill you or someone you love in the future. It dramatizes in a way that makes more literal like the Christian act of forgiveness. Like, so it's sort of like it puts you in the mindset of like both Christ's decision to give up his own life and to suffer and die for humanity, but also the decision to forgive the people who persecuted him, while they were doing it, essentially. So like with time travel, it gives you you have the foreknowledge of what will happen, and you still make the same choice.
Okay, tell me if this is a little crazy, but what do you think the theological or historical significance of Jesus Christ, of God saying that the presumably Jewish scientist must forgive the Gentile soldier?
He's saying it about himself.
Yeah.
I mean, the Romans weren't Christian at the time, but Brant is a soldier of the modern Roman Empire, America.
Yes.
He is a centurion who, it would have killed a young Jewish man.
Yes. And wait, what does that young Jewish man do at the end of the movie?
Oh my God. Okay, so this is where it goes. After Brant, he saves Ram and his family from Ahmed and his goons. He takes out his gun and he shoots the bad guys, and then he has killed himself in that moment. He sacrifices himself.
Brant gets shot, presumably dead. We find out later he's not.
I think yes. Brant is shot multiple times, but he sacrifices himself, and in accepting Ram's forgiveness, he sort of his heart is reopened to God. He realizes that God could technically allow something awful to happen to you, but the God is always there, and his love and forgiveness is not contingent on anything. It's always there for you if you just walk through that door.
I don't know how granular we want to get, but when Ram forgives Brant, he hears a voice from the other world that he says, it sounds British, and Brant's like, my wife is British. What does it say? And it's
played by Heidi Montag,
without an English accent.
Who does not have an English accent.
And it says,
it comes out at one point in the first scene, and he gets horny.
Yeah, and she says, be a hero, and that's what causes Brant to step up and shoot the goons instead of shooting Ram.
And then Ram Mark 3 is also killed just as Ram Mark 1 walks in the door and sees his body, sort of almost like a pietà scene, being cradled by Amy, almost like Mary. You know what I mean? He's seeing his broken body, which then disappears as it's erased from that timeline, I think.
Yes.
Also Ram ends up killing Ahmed with the same knife that he keeps on his desk that his parents were executed by.
Right. Okay. So, and then at this point, the cops have called in, the terrorist plot has been foiled, and Mark 1 of the four geniuses and the new timeline are all alive. But they've realized, they are aware of the time travel plot and what has happened and their role in it, and they know to end time travel.
Yes.
But not before the last act that Ram does with his three friends is that he uses the matter transporter to go back in time dressed as a road worker, and goes back in time to the very beginning of the movie and blinks into space right in front of Brant and his family's car with a stop sign so that they jerk the wheel and are saved from the truck that would have T-boned the car and killed his family before. And then like he goes right back. Like the instant he comes and saves them, he removes himself from the timeline. But he has a little like road workers stop sign there. And like, you know, Heidi Montag says to Brandt, like, who was that guy? Was he an angel? Like, where did he go or whatever? Like, I don't know. And then at this point in the movie, we're like, okay, that this doesn't make any sense, because if he had saved Brandt, like Brandt would still be in the position in that timeline to carry out the evil acts of the terrorist leader, right? It negates like his sacrifice and like his moment of doubt and then recoming to God and then eventually his sacrifice, and just restarts the whole plot of the fucking movie, essentially. But this guy now has a family. No, not the case. On the stop sign, he had written a letter to Brandt that says, call the FBI and Homeland Security, and like lays out the whole plot for him and stops it before it even starts. All threads are tied off. Humanity is redeemed, forgiven, and through the use of time travel, we have like a fairly interestingly done sort of like reenactment of Christ's own martyrdom and execution. As execution, martyrdom, and kind of forgiveness.
That nonetheless ends in a happy ending for every. This is honestly a true masterclass.
Honestly, it is. As Chris pointed it out, like the big reason these movies are often boring is because they hinge on someone making a change of heart, which is very hard to make interesting visually and narratively. This movie dramatized like forgiveness and as like an action through the use of the time travel plot in a way that actually made it compelling, and not just, oh, now he thinks God's good.
The scene where Ram makes his final conversion and accepts Christian forgiveness, you literally have a situation in that last room where he knows that his version must die, Ram Mark III. He knows he must die so that everyone else can live. He literally has the Christ knowledge.
Incredible.
And this was another incredible Philip K. Dick moment. As Ram Mark III dies, he asks his Christian girlfriend to read from her Bible app called iDisciple. That was pretty funny.
I love that.
An account of Jesus being taken by the Romans that they had experienced in the film before. And she reads him a part in the book about like a man who's like, you know, clothes are ripped off of him or wearing like an odd fabric of clothes that is in the actual Gospel of Matthew. Chris, you look this up. It isn't
Mark.
It is something that, yeah, it's
in Mark.
It's in Mark?
It's Mark 14:51. A young man followed Jesus with nothing but a linen cloth about his body, and they seized him, but he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. And literally, as
that's depicted in the scene where they first go back in time.
And it's played as a bit of a goofy movie moment as the centurions are attacking. He gets his clothes ripped off and
he's
runs
running
away
around in his
boxers.
underwear. Yeah, he's running around in white boxers. And then as Ram Mark III is dying, he realizes that like the Bible is real. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And not only that, his own actions are part of the historical record that he knows to be true. This is how true the Bible is, that detail of himself running around in boxers is in the fucking Gospels that he read himself, or like presumably as a kid, or was aware of.
So this raises one question for me. Do all the different versions of these people, the righteous ones, do they go to heaven? Are there 3 Rams in heaven? Or are they like, you know, when they die, are their memories sort of like melded back with the regular Ram?
Wait, Matt, what's another thing that is in triplicate but is also one?
Oh my God. All right, this movie's going to win the Oscar.
This movie fucking owns.
All right, guys, you don't even know the best part, though.
Okay, I was going to say, we hit stop before Matt did. But Matt, you said that there's a little Easter egg.
I'm very glad that I just
sequence.
left it running, because halfway through the credits move to one side of the screen and another scene pops up. So early in the film, right after Brandt blows away Jesus, Ram goes back to time, goes back to the lab, and like there's a scene where him and Amy get into like the portal room, lock it, and try to signal to themselves in another room. That's the scene where Amy does sign language to herself. What we didn't say is that those versions of Amy and Ram, they get shot. Like the terrorist henchmen break in, they shoot them. And then the other ones go back in time, and then that's where they kill the guys with the sticks, and that's where the other things start. So one version of the first version of Amy and Ram get killed in the portal area, and that's the last we see them. This takes up where that scene ended, with them shot on the ground. Then you see what we didn't see while watching the movie chronologically, because the characters had left to go back in time. Ram like gets up. He's not dead. He's just really badly wounded. And he crawls over to Amy, and she's also very badly wounded. And he says, "It's okay. I'm going to save us." So he crawls over to the time machine, and he puts the coordinates for the local hospital for 30 years in the future, presumably thinking that they'll have advanced technology that will make them able to survive. So then he crawls back over with dying Amy under the crackling time portal lights, and they get sucked forward. Camera is now on them as they like emerge on concrete. They're lying on concrete. They're both bloody. You can hear in the background gunshots. Like it sounds like a battle scene, like the crackle of automatic weapons fire. 4 guys who sort of look like operators. They kind of look like the white helmets, honestly. They've got, tactical gear on, and they go, "Oh, look, here they are. Well, who are these guys?" And they crawl over them with devices, like future, to kind of just look like iPads. And
Tricorders.
Then they like poke them with these like little tongs. And then one of them says, "My God, they're not marked. Neither of them are. They're clean." And then what somebody else says, "I wonder what the Antichrist wants with them."
Oh,
and then cut.
God damn.
Fuck. Okay, so the sequel to this, we got to do it. Okay,
I can't wait.
if they do
We
a
should
sequel,
we
that
should
takes place
honestly
in the
invest
future,
in the sequel.
If
Of
they
it.
want,
God.
if Jim Carroll, if you want to make a sequel to this movie about because like those Left Behind movies suck ass. The Book of Revelation is one of the most entertaining things ever written. One of the great
it's like
pieces
phantasmagoric.
of just
It's fucking There's
grotesque
so much
art.
stuff you can
It's
do
like,
with it.
It's awesome. And
One of my favorite books of the fake part of the Bible.
of course, and its rendition by Christians has been dog shit. Left Behind movies are terrible. Even the one with Nick Cage is somehow even worse.
It's so
than the ones
boring.
with Kirk
It's
Cameron.
so boring. And most of it takes place on an airplane.
yeah.
It's awful.
I want to see Jim Carroll tackle the rapture, because in his version, it's basically the Syrian civil war. And like they apparently fell into a bunch of, I think because they said they're clean, I
don't have
think
the
it
mark
means
of the
that they
beast.
are
they're
the
not
ones who have
chipped.
rejected the mark of the beast and are fighting against Antichrist.
Oh man, fuck. That's a fucking dude. Adding a time travel narrative into like the Apocalypse and Book of Revelation. Fuck yes.
Yeah, let's get it.
Like I'll just say like overall, like this is like a pretty hokey movie, but it was like honestly better than a lot of the movies I see, like modern movies that I see
100%.
now. Like it's smarter and better thought out than a lot of shit. It's clunky at points, but I will say like the crucially outside of just pure like acting and directing and production competence, what this movie has that like all the rest don't, or crucially what it doesn't have, is that it has a religious message, but it has none of the just like clunky, cloying, like culture war bullshit where they just render all of their sort of culture war totems just one for one on screen to make a point that like they would make you could easily just make on the radio or Fox News or something, or like through religious broadcasting. Like they're smart enough to know that like to make a movie that works and like has a religious message that, like I said, that 3 degenerates like us can like really sink our teeth into, is that like render it in such a way that it does away with all of like the political like point settling or just like propagandizing or whatever, and it puts the actual like philosophical content of it and the story first. And it's like it's so much more effective as a movie if it just doesn't have all this clunky stuff about like, well, after they outlawed Christian marriage and only gay people could have families, like, or just like really boring, like awful shit like that.
Yeah,
which is stock and trade of like most of these movies.
This movie, like, there's so much about time travel that they literally did not have room in the script or time to be like, oh, yeah, like, welcome to the future. You have to bake a cake for trans people.
Yeah. and they didn't even like blame it on Islam. They just said, this is what happens if you have like civilization that doesn't value forgiveness. Now you can argue that that's kind of blinkered and incorrect. I mean, let's ask people at the Seas of Magdeburg what they thought about Christian forgiveness. But it's not as like over the top like culture war grievance mongering as most of these movies are.
Other than its depiction
I mean, look,
of Islamists get
Okay,
a
like,
time machine. First thing, murder
it's
Christ.
depiction of Islamist
Well, yeah, but
terrorism.
they are. Hold on a minute. These guys, they do explicitly say that they are extremists.
Yeah, and they say they're like, it's. I think Amy says at one point, like, well, why would Muslims want to like do away with Christianity? And then Ram says, like, they don't. These are extremists, you know. It's like they have that little tip of the cap or whatever. But I will say this: its depiction of Islamic terrorism is certainly no worse than any other movie made by liberal Hollywood.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This movie is just as offensive as Zero Dark 30.
Oh, and
like,
way less offensive because Zero Dark 30 is about a real thing that fucking happened.
Yeah,
and is actual propaganda for the fucking
Zero
CIA.
Dark 30, unlike Zero Dark 30, you know who stops the extremists? A multiracial, neurotypical and neuroatypical congregation of people. Not just the lily white operators.
And, you know, Ahmed the bad guy is killed in, like, you know, kind of an action movie kind of thing. But, like, the message of Zero Dark 30 is just like, let's roll, baby. We're finally getting revenge for 9/11. Whereas, like, the actual message of this movie is about forgiveness.
Forgiveness and love and, like, using science for beautiful Christian ends. This movie has way better politics than any crap from liberal, godless Hollywood.
I would say give Jim Carroll a Marvel movie, but I don't want his talents wasted on that.
No, it would be a waste of Jim Carroll. It would be an absolute waste. Like, this man, if you're listening and you're like an evangelical boat magnate, or you make some type of weird fucking root beer that everyone in Texas drinks but I've never heard of. Like, you're a billionaire for the evangelical reasons. Maybe you invented like a Christian mattress. Please fund this man. Please fund this
Mike
man.
Lindell, stop building PPE in your pillow factories and give money to Jim Carroll to make the sequel to this movie.
Fire Sorbo, fire Kirk Cameron. Those people are hacks.
Get these actors. Dude, Ram Goldstein, he's the Christian Timothy Chalamet. Like, very, like, delicate features, but, like, stacked bod.
Yeah.
He is ripped.
Yeah.
And like I said, like in the beginning of the movie, Amy, the one sort of stand-in for the like Christian character who is like devout, is not a cloying harpy. She's not a judgmental fucking like culture war fucking ghoul. She's like a normal fucking person who exists in like a modern world that she doesn't hate and loathe like every aspect of it.
And Ram is like, as the science guy, he's not like they're dating. He's
as
not
the Jewish
not
guy.
Like,
yeah.
You know, they're dating. He's not like you're an idiot. I could never see intellectually with you.
You know what's so important about Ram? Ram, he has morality like divorced from religion. Like, even the scenes where he's an atheist, he refuses to like give a time machine to a terrorist just out of morality. Like, they allow for atheistic characters to have
to be a good person,
and values, and because
like the stupid Kevin Sorbo worldview is like, oh, if you don't believe in God, like what's stopping you from killing and raping a child? And it's just like, well, my conscience, like my I don't know, like anything, my imagination, empathy, like like a moral or ethical sense that isn't contingent on belief in an afterlife, and like this movie presupposes that you get that's real, that you don't have to believe in God to be a good person, but it helps,
Yeah. This is. I would love to collab with Jim Carroll.
Absolutely. Let's get in the stew.
Yeah, he's a master. He's an absolute master.
I think the last time we did one of these, I was saying that I think on the Reliant, I was like, we should make. What does it cost to make one of these? Like $3-4 million. We could definitely get
that.
But honestly. If we wanted to make the Reliant, we could just like goof off and like shit out a script over the weekend and then like raise some money and go film it as like a goof. If we wanted to get in like Jim Carroll's production company, we would have to like really put some work into it.
Oh no,
we would have to sweat. We would have to sweat.
We could not half-ass a collaboration with Jim Carroll.
I mean,
Jim Carroll would know when you're half-assing. Like, there's a reason that Jim Carroll didn't work on like these bullshit other movies. He's like a fucking actual artist.
And you know how you know he took it seriously? Because there's a goddamn scene where a guy has to draw on the dirt to explain the different parallel time streams and dimensions.
Are we safe from the time continuum override thing?
We transferred from Continuum A and materialized in Continuum B, which is a part of Continuum A, but by being here in theory, we're creating a new Continuum C. Time can't loop itself. We should be fine.
Okay, well, slow that down and say that again.
If B overrides A, then there won't be a time continuum for us to return to.
Nothing to go back to. We're just
So I guess just like wrapping it up, like I cannot stress to you the contrast between this film and the Fireman Prophecies.
Oh God,
so different.
Where it's just like a like the world's dullest moron plays frisbee with his wife, and then like has night terrors, and then realizes that Trump will become president. That's all that happens in that fucking movie.
That was one of the most depressing. Like the Fireman Prophecies was like, it was like everyone involved in that movie had 3 fentanyl patches on them at all time. Just a lazy piece of shit.
The movie
it was the artistic equivalent of the sad hard-on, the only one you can achieve when on opiates.
Yeah,
Awful.
no, and honestly, like that, the Reliant, all the Dinesh D'Souza movies really do like simulate the experience of being on opiates because they seem to take forever, and it's just like slow-mo, and everything is just at this totally flat register. Like I said, Fireman Prophecies is about the world's dumbest man starts having night terrors and then realizes that Trump is the way he can get a good night's sleep, essentially.
Trump plus a My Pillow.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, and then then it's like his sort of messianic Jewish chiropractors teach him how to blow a shofar, and that's also important to the plot of that movie, I seem to remember. Oh, well, anyway, I gotta say this was honestly probably one of the most philosophical, this is probably the most theological Chapo we've ever had.
This has been a great
We've
movie
engaged with the ideas of Christianity more deeply here than I probably have in the last 25 years of my life.
Yeah, this is a good movie. And if you're quarantined, to just like burn a fatty and just be like, damn, just blow your mind.
If you're quarantined, you've got $4 to waste on Amazon, and you want to see Christ get murdered in the head with a Glock, and also think a lot about the meaning of Christian faith. Do rent this.
You could do a whole lot worse than Assassin 33 AD.
Certainly.
This was, I gotta say, like this one was a surprise to me. I was expecting this one to be torturous.
When I heard Assassinating Jesus and Heidi Montag, I was pretty confident.
I was not looking forward to it. Like I was like, it will be a funny episode, but the movie will be a chore. And instead, I got one of the best movies I've seen this year.
Oh God! Like I'm thinking of all the absolute dog shit I've watched on Hulu, like these movies that just suck ass, and I'm like, why am I watching this? This is better than all of them.
Literally, dude. What a fucking delight. Jim Carroll, you own, dude. You're a true alpha.
All right, well, let's
Logitech movie of the year.
Well, let's go out with some other Jim Carroll. Roll that People Who Died.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, he died, but famously then didn't die.
Yes. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.